It's amazing though, with the price of food skyrocketing. The price of eggs is like almost unbelievable in some places. I think I saw in New Zealand, it's like $1.50 per egg, which we'll have to start selling some from our ranch. Maybe we'll export it to New Zealand. Yeah, well, we can try. Of course, they probably won't let us. There's all sorts of governments will get in the way of that, and taxes and extortion. Yeah, you're right, Lisa, you're smart. Maybe we'll bring them in on the black market and sell them on dark markets and for dero or MONERO, which is like, it's actually got more nodes now than Bitcoin. Like, that is like incredible. And actually more CPU power than Bitcoin. Like, this is absolutely massive. It really should be valued like, well, if everyone on Earth was smart, we wouldn't have governments, we wouldn't have central banks, and everyone would be using some sort of currency that was totally free. Right, Lucy? Oh yeah, I'd probably, well, I was going to say I'd use tacos as currency, but I seem to eat them all. But if everyone was smart, MONERO should be valued like 100 times higher where it currently is, and it probably will go there as people figure things out. But because of the rising food prices, sugar daddies are about to change. Meet the 2023 version of the sugar daddy. It's amazing how people will, no matter how wrong they are, they'll come up with some justification or reason why it's okay. Like these NPCs. I don't care that I was wrong and you were right. The important thing is that I believed what I was told to believe. Like, I must be taking crazy pills.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Like, I must have died a while ago and my brain's just like slowly dying. So I'm like basically on a DMT trip constantly or something, because none of this stuff really makes any sense. Like this. Rep. Rosa DeLauro, Democrat, highlights the vital work that Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is doing to ensure that female dummies are used in vehicle crash testing to fight the gender inequality among crash victims.
And this is an area I've written to you about, of the use of female dummies in crash testing. This will start to fight the gender inequity among vehicle safety and crash victims.
Yeah, so you have like a monster saying that we've been using crash test dummies that are all male looking. We need some to be female looking, which that's totally bigoted. I hope everyone attacks her or it or whatever that thing is, because that thing is one of the creepiest looking things I've ever seen. It's incredible. And I always love how those Democrat type people call themselves progressives. Like they're progressing. But you know, again, they're kind of right. They're progressing towards a world that will be absolute hell on earth with all of these things they want to bring in. And in so many ways, like the whole world is kind of, in many ways, going in that direction. Like look at the old architecture. Like I'm here in Italy. First of all, let me show you the view. But I've been to like that fountain in Italy, like that's like thousands of years old, I think. And it's intricate, incredible, and it's still here after like thousands of years. Like most buildings that are built today, in 50 years, they are garbage and they just have to like tear them down and ship it to China, basically, is what they do. Oh, wow, this is really nice. Like, okay, I'm gonna keep walking down here. Oh, this is way better, way less people. So yeah, look at all the architecture in places like Italy, or that's from like thousands of years ago, and it was so amazing, so beautiful. Like you could probably look at that one statue in Rome, and there's so many of them, for like hours and just be in awe of it. Like how often do you go look at any building on Earth that's been built in the last 50 years and do that? You might go, oh, it's shiny or it's tall, but there's no beauty to it anymore. Progress. Yeah, here's a building and they put some statues in front of it of like metal cutout drawings of dinosaurs or something, which also don't exist or have never existed. But why not? Yeah, in many ways, like if you think about it, why don't we have these beautiful, ornate structures anymore? And Max Egan's talked a bit about this, and there's many theories on it, but I would say, I'll bet the consciousness level of people back then was more about beauty than wealth. And so they wouldn't mind spending like 100 years building something just incredible because it's so beautiful. Whereas today, in many ways, everything's so financialized, and you know, everything's got to have a reason to be built and an income generation. And because of that, and people just seem to have lost their desire for that kind of beauty. Now, other people might come in and say, well, I think it was all built with slave labor, like a lot of that stuff, and maybe some of it was, I don't know. But that kind of beauty isn't really done by a consciousness level that is all about slavery and stuff like that. Like, that seems like, you know, many times when I'm talking about the world today, I'm like, I think this is like some of the worst the world's ever been. Although in some ways, like there's positive and negatives. And I think that's just what you got to do in many ways, is just take the positives from things. Like the ability to travel is so easy now. Like you can travel to Hong Kong right now in like 12 hours. Like tell someone that 1,000 years ago and they'd be like, they wouldn't believe it. They'd just say it's magic. And actually, many of the things that we have in our lives today, it basically is like magic. I was thinking about that the other day. Like the amount of things that even just anyone does in the average day, you have thousands of people making that happen for you, and for the most part, most people are just ordering it with a swipe of their hand. Like you could even write about people like today, you could write about me as an example, or anyone, but we'll just use me as an example. There was a man named Jeff in the year 2023, and he could just swipe his fingers, and people across the world would spend years making all kinds of items for him and food. And the amount of people would save their capital up just to make Jeff that food, and they'd ship it across to him and send it to him, and another guy would bring it over to him just to give it to Jeff. Like, it's really quite incredible. Like that's the hidden hand of the market that hardly anyone sees, and most people don't even appreciate. But aside from that, I think everything was probably way better a long time ago. Although a lot of people will say, oh, it sounds like they're all living in mud and all dying of plagues and stuff. That might have happened in some places, but I kind of think that's probably overblown quite a bit. Like even the Native Americans who lived in North America, it seems that I really like what I hear about their culture, and I kind of wish the world was more like that. But you know, on one hand, if I want, I can go live in a teepee right now, get rid of every smart device I've got, never go on the internet, and live like they did back then. So I do have that option. And you do too, by the way, for people who complain about it. So, yeah, just some thoughts on life.